Okay, so here is the end of Module 1 test. Again, the practice assessment is exactly like the real test. All we did was change the numbers. So your numbers are different, but overall it should be about the same. On our first one, they're having a sale on popular crackers. She's trying to determine which is the best deal given in the table and the equation. So they gave us two different formats to look at the information. Determine which one is the better deal. So there's our question. Okay? We need to make sure we read the problems carefully and actually answer the question that is asked. Yeah, the pen's not working, so we'll just go with it. Okay, personally I like to start with the equation. I think it's easier. Here is our variable. The easy way to do this is figure out for one box of crackers what I'm paying. That means I substitute a 1 in. Remember, when I write a number beside a variable, that just means that I'm multiplying. Okay? So, I can rewrite this. C equals 1.45 times 1. Or, the cost for one box is $1.45 at Market City. Looking at Value Mart. Here I have two boxes, and that cost me $5. Again, I want to know the cost for one box. How do I go from 2 to 1? Divide by 2. Divide 5 by 2. That gives me $2.50. The same box of crackers, do I want to pay $1.45 or $2.50? So, don't forget to answer the question. Market City has the better deal. Okay? Now remember, the answer is different on the test. The overall answer may be the same, but the numbers are different. So make sure you pay attention to what the numbers are telling you. That being said, just to help you understand on the grading, half of it is on your work, half of it is on your answer. So that question is worth 5 points. You get 2.5 for showing us the work, 2.5 for the answer. If all you have is an answer of no work, you failed that test. Because you're only getting half of the credit, even if the answer is right. Okay? Now, that being said, if you do the work, but make a math mistake, and you have the answer based on your math mistake, you lose 1/2 of a point. You still get an A on that question. Big difference. So please show your work. Second one, Joe America makes 6 pints of lemonade in their lemonade stand. How many gallons did they make? Hint, 1 gallon is equal to 8 pints. So they gave us our proportion to start with. 1 gallon is 8 pints. And I know I want gallons and pints. But what they actually did, in this case, it was 6 pints. How do I go from 8 to 6? Multiply by? No, 2 times 8 is 16. By 1/4? Kind of hard, right? So guys, here's the key on this. What is the opposite of multiplying? Dividing. So if I don't know what I multiplied by to get to 6, then I can go the other way and divide. So I can just take 6 and divide by 8. So take 6, divide by 8. That's going to tell me, that goes 0. It's going to go 7 times. 56 gives me a 4. Not at 0 yet, so I go down another one. Gives me 5. 9 at 0. So what was it? 0.75. So I multiplied by 0.75. Or if you put 3/4, that would also be acceptable, because that's equivalent. So what's 1 times 0.75? 0.75. 1 times anything is that number. Doesn't matter if that number is 20, a million, or 0.75. 1 times 20 is 20. 1 times a million is a million. 1 times 75 hundredths is 75 hundredths. Okay? So, let's answer the question. They made 0.75, oh boy, 0.75 gallons. Does everybody understand how we got there? Any questions? Okay, so we're going to use this and move it into our next problem. Generally, going to charge $3 per gallon. How much money will they make if they sell all the lemonade? So again, they've given us our rate right here. So the rate is $3 per gallon equals, but I want to know how many dollars they get for what they made, which was 75 hundredths. How do I go from 1 to 75 hundredths? Multiply by 3/4 or 75 hundredths. Want to see it? Okay, I'm going to do the math opposite because I like to put the bigger number on top, or the one with more digits. That's going to give me 15, 21, 22, and then I need 2 decimal places for my answer. So what did they make? $2.25. Still good? Okay. I hope you guys are understanding the work piece of this because it's going to be extremely important on your test. Fanny took a road trip. She drove at a constant rate of 30 miles per hour for 4 hours. She took a break and then finished the rest of the trip driving at a constant rate of 40 miles per hour for 4 hours. What was the total distance of Fanny's trip? So there's our entire thing. So this question actually has 2 parts to it. So I start the first part of my trip at 30 miles per hour, and I do that for 4 hours. How do I go from 1 to 4?
Times 4.
Times 4. So guess what I do to the 30?
Times 4.
Times 4. That makes it 120 miles. The second part of our trip, she's now doing 40 miles per hour for number of miles in 1 hour. How many hours is she traveling? 4 again. So what goes in my box? How do I go from 1 to 4?
Times 4.
Times 4. That gives me 160. So what am I going to do to those 2 numbers? I add them. So 120 and 160, her trip was 280 miles. Again, if all you have is the work and you don't answer the question, do you get full credit for the problem?
No.
So when I take points off because you didn't do it, you're not going to be mad at me, right?
No.
Solid?
We already know. I thought it was an easier way to do that.
I'm happy you did, so please use it so I can take points away. Thank you. Okay, any other questions? Okay, let's go ahead and turn to the next page. Hopefully my marker will work now, so we'll see. Nope, it's still not changing. Try this. Switch pens. Okay, oh good, this might work now. There we go. 100 offices need to be painted. The workers choose between yellow, blue, or beige paint. They decide 35% of the offices will be painted yellow, 9/25 will be painted blue, and the remaining 0.29 will be painted beige. So they gave us 3 different sections to look at. I'll be honest, because they didn't give us all percents, I would hold off on drawing your picture. Okay? Put down the given information on your chart first. So, excuse me, for yellow, it's 35%. For blue, they said 9/25, so that's the fraction. For beige, they gave us the decimal. So I'm going to put in the decimal amount. Okay? I'll be honest, the easiest way to do this, convert everything to percents first. So 9/25. What do we know percent is out of 100? So can I go from 25 to 100? How? Times 4. So I multiply that by 4. I get 36 over 100. I now have my percent, correct? Decimal over percent. Super easy, right? What do I do? I just move it twice. So that means that one is 29%. Now that I have the percent, The rest of it should be super easy because percent is out of 100. So this one becomes 35 out of 100. Please don't forget to simplify. I hate taking those half points off, but I will continue to do it until you learn. 29%, that's just 29 over 100. That one can't be simplified. Can't divide them both by 2, 3, 5, or 7. So that means that one's done. Decimal, once I have my percent, super easy. Literally all I'm doing is moving that decimal twice. 35 hundredths, 36 hundredths, and then we have 29 hundredths. And honestly, the last part, it doesn't say I have to use that, does it?
No.
No. So if you don't want to use it, you do not have to. But this is actually a good check for you to make sure everything looks correct. Okay? And it doesn't take you that long, but I would definitely not do this if you're running short on time. The first part we do, yellow, 35%. Except it didn't change. Interesting. Okay, so I'm just going to do colors then. So 35% is just the line. The next part, 36%, I'll just do diagonals. And then I have to do one more. And then for the last part, 29, and here's where the check is. If you ended up not covering in all of the boxes, you probably made a mistake, right? So 35, 36, and 29, I covered all 100 boxes. So I feel even more confident now that I have the correct answer. Make sense?
Yes.
Again, make sure you give a key so we can tell what you're coloring what if you choose to use that. Yes, Porter?
Is it okay that I did a yellow being then beige then blue on the top?
That's fine as long as you put it in your key. I mean, honestly, I could have made the yellow blue, the blue yellow, and the beige purple. As long as it's in my key, it doesn't matter. It'd be really confusing for us grading it, but as long as your key shows it, you're safe. Any questions on anything in the chart? Everybody understands to simplify? Okay. Now, honestly, the next three should be really easy because literally all we're doing is going back and forth between these three. So I've got 4/10. I'm making it a fraction and a percent. My recommendation would be go do the percent decimal pieces first because it's always get the easiest to get to the fraction off of the percent. Devin?
To some people, number 10 seems a little hard.
We're getting to it.
Okay.
Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do, like I said, for me personally, I go to the percent first because decimal percent is super easy. Literally, all I'm doing is moving twice. Empty buckets get a 0, so that makes it 40%. Once I have percent, the fraction is easy because I know whatever the number is goes over 100. Then I just need to simplify.
I did the right, I got the, never mind.
That's easy for me to do.
The right answer and don't say group, is that minus the what point?
What do you think, Porter? Thank you. Okay, convert 6% to a fraction and a decimal. Show all necessary work. So again, for me, the easiest part is doing the percent and decimal pieces first. So turn this into a decimal. Moving it twice means I get 2 spots or an empty bucket with a 0. Turning it into a fraction, the 6 goes over 100. Simplifying, divide those by 2 gives me 3 over 50. Oops, can't underline that one. Okay? Then our last one, and yes, this was the one that seemed to trip most people up, which is ironic, because this should have honestly been the easiest one. If I have a division bar, I just gave it away. If I have a fraction bar, what operation is that? Divide. All you have to do is divide it. So if I take it and I divide, remember, the top guy is the winner. He goes in the house. 5 divided by 8. How many times will 5 go into 8? I'm sorry, 8 goes into 5. It's the other way. 0. 8 goes into 50. 6 times. Subtract 48 gives me a 2. Still not at 0, so bring down another 0. Calculate go to 20. 2. Subtract 16 gives me a 4, still not at 0, so bring another one down. How calculate go to 40? 5. Now I finally made it 20, so I'm done. So as a decimal, what is it? 625 thousandths. So how many times do I move my decimal to make it into a percent? Dion? 2. Does it ever change? Do I ever do anything but 2? Never. Decimal to percent, it is always 2. So don't get caught up with the fact that it's got 3 spaces in the number. You still only move it twice, so 62.5%. Yes, Devin?
Don't think we rounded it to make the percent.
Nope. Did it say to round?
No.
No. If it says to round, I will warn you, you should round. But if it does not say to round, don't round it. Do what it says. Okay? So that is all of your answers. That is how to get to all of your answers. I will warn you once again, the numbers on the test, we did change every single one of them this time, so there's no repeats. Some of them may look very similar, but pay attention to the units that are involved. Excuse me. I will just give you a little heads up. On the last problem, we did use a 8, but it wasn't 5/8. But it's also not an even one. Means if you understand how to do 1/8, 3/8, and 7/8, you'll know what the answer would be. Okay? Questions on anything that we covered on your test? Okay, so I just said, again, the key points. When you're doing this chart here, make sure you simplify the middle. That's where a lot of students lost points. Most people seem okay on the percent decimal piece, but people still aren't simplifying for some reason. Simplifying continues once you get into the fraction portions down here. Do make sure you do everything it says. It says decimal and fraction and percent, fraction and decimal and percent. Unfortunately, we had a lot of students who only did one or the other, and you're losing half the points on every single problem at that point. Going back to page 1, again, you've got to show your work. I'll just tell you up front, the answer key that Ms. McShann and I share when we're grading this, the answer key says 2.5 points for the work, 2.5 points for the answer. So if you don't show any work, if you just write an answer with no support, sorry. Now, I will add a caveat. Is breaking it down to one box the only way to solve this?
No.
No. You guys remember when we were doing charts and equations and stuff earlier? What did I say is the easiest way to do a comparison? Find the same number, right? I have a 2 here, don't I? Could I put 2 input boxes and crackers? If I did that, I would find $2.90. So I do $2.90 for 2 or $5 for 2. Which one do I want to buy? Still Orange City. Is that a valid mathematical explanation? Yes. Do you need to show me what you did? Yes. And show me here comparing the two. But you can go either way because it doesn't specifically say you have to do down to a unit rate. I'll be honest, 2 and 3 are probably the ones that will mess you guys up. And I did it intentionally. For all of you that don't want to show the work and just do the math in your head, you're going to have a very difficult time on 2 and 3 because the numbers don't work out well. That being said, because the numbers are harder, the way this one is graded, you get, if you set this up just like this, you've already got half the credit on it. The answer is only half of the credit on this one. Same with this one. If you set it up correctly and the math is too hard for you, you'll still get half the credit. So, because I made the numbers hard, if you don't get full credit on those, but you set them up properly, you still get half credit on 2 of the problems. Meaning, you get full credit on those 2, you get all the credit on the rest of them because you've done them correctly. You've still got a 90% on the test, right? And that's even without a bonus. I can't remember if we put a bonus on this one or not. So, even though the numbers are harder on those 2 questions, if you'll show the work, you'll still get an A. Now, show the work and you get those wrong, you're down to a maximum of the B. Any questions at all? Okay, so your homework for tonight study this. If you need to, you can always come back. The video will